Coming up on Access Tech Live.
Accessibility teams, do we need them? Tech to make summer fly by. And a smart lawn care system.
This is Access Tech Live with Stephen Scott and Mark Aflalo. The latest in tech and accessibility every week. Follow us now and get involved at Access Tech Live.
Hey everybody, welcome along to another Access Tech Live. I am Stephen Scott. Great to be back with you here again. Happy 4th of July to anyone south of the border watching us on YouTube today. And of course, a belated happy Canada Day to everyone, which we celebrated on July 1st. It's Election Day in the UK where I am, and it's Disability Pride Month as well. Wow, what a start to the show. And if that's not enough for you, we have someone back with us. I am so pleased to say he is back by my side, as he should be.
Just someone? Is that how this works?
Oh, no, you're not just someone. You are, wait for it, Mark Aflalo. How are you, Mark?
Thank
Good
you.
to be back. You were off last week. Where were you?
Good. I missed you. I was in Las Vegas. I have another life other than this show with you. I do a lot of I do a lot of broadcast engineering, which you know. And I was in Las Vegas for the NHL draft. This is the annual event where they get to pick new up and coming prospects on different teams for their future teams. And this year, Stephen, it was done at the Las Vegas Sphere, the new insane entertainment complex that honestly, to even try and describe it as a bit nuts. On the outside, it's basically a giant screen that they can animate. We're throwing up videos right now. And inside, because of the dome-like shape, they can create this incredible immersive experience with visuals and graphics that make you feel like you're almost inside whatever they're projecting there. We met the likes of Gary Bettman, of course, the commissioner of the NHL. Celine Dion was there. She was doing the pick for the Montreal Canadiens. So saw a lot of really cool people and a really fun experience overall at the Sphere. And definitely something I think if you're going to travel somewhere and Las Vegas is on your list, you should definitely head down to this venue because it is a once in a lifetime opportunity. Obviously, it's going to be there for quite some time, obviously, but definitely something worth experiencing once.
Now, I always remember with this Sphere, people talking about whenever there was a Windows update that the computer running it required, you would have these huge working on updates, please do not restart your computer, written all over it. I don't know if that was a joke or not. I don't know if that was a joke or someone was playing a prank or that was genuine. I don't know.
No, I know, but I can't tell you this because of this is the first event that was televised ever at the Sphere. What they did is when people first came in, they put this little box up on the screen that had the draft logo, and they were playing video in this little, just kind of like HD box, so that even though the whole screen lights up, it was just kind of in the middle, so no one really understood the gravity of what was about to happen and the immersiveness of this screen. So everybody kind of came in going, what's going on? Like, this is pretty boring. Is this what it's going to be all night? And then, of course, they launch into the broadcast and the production, and the entire thing lights up. And I'll tell you, Stephen, when I was up on the 7th floor, just trying to get a glimpse of what it was like, when things are moving on a screen like that, that's panoramic, and you're trying to walk to your seat, it's jarring, man. You kind of look down and you're like, okay, I need to walk really slowly now. I feel like I might fall into this giant cavern of whatever might be on the screen. But it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
That is amazing. That is amazing. Well, listen, it's great to have you back here on the show beside me. We're not the Las Vegas Sphere, but, we'll do. And listen, we've lots to talk about on today's show. We're going to focus on the outdoors today and talk about some tech that makes summer more enjoyable and easier for all. Plus, we're going to be joined by the founder of one of the products we're going to be talking about, Auto Lawn Care. But first, let's kick things off with this week's headlines. And Mark has those headlines right now.
Now, Access Tech Live headlines.
Let's start with something a little more, north of the border here in Canada. Get ready because Apple Vision Pro is now available for pre-order. It's going to be available in store locations and for delivery starting in just about a week's time, July 12th. Customers can book a one-on-one demo at an Apple Store location throughout the country. The Apple Vision Pro starts at a mere $4,999 Canadian and comes with Vision OS 1.2 with a free update, yay, to Vision OS 2.0 coming this fall. Stephen, imagine a world where you don't have to wait for transportation. For many disabled San Franciscans, Waymo's no-wait-list autonomous ride service is turning that vision into reality. Waymo is a self-driving car company. It's offering immediate rides to those who need them the most, significantly enhancing the independence and autonomy. The initiative addresses long-standing transportation challenges for the disabled community, providing a reliable and accessible option. With Waymo, users can easily book a ride, ensuring timely travel without the typical wait times. It's pretty much a game changer when it comes to offering not only just convenience, but a greater sense of freedom and empowerment for those who often face mobility barriers. Here's a win for disability services. The U.S. Senate has approved a significant funding increase aimed at enhancing resources and support for individuals with disabilities. The funding will bolster programs that provide critical services, including job training, accessible health care. The decision marks a major step forward in addressing the needs of the disabled community, ensuring better access to essential services, and, of course, improved quality of life. Now, this financial boost is expected to drive meaningful change, offering more opportunities and support to those who need it the most. Now, you ever been to a game night and you've struggled because of color blindness? Mattel has got your back. The iconic toy company is redesigning popular board and card games like Uno, Blocus, Phase 10, and Skippo to be more accessible for colorblind players. By incorporating symbols and high-contrast colors, Mattel ensures everyone can join in the fun without frustration. This inclusive design move makes game nights more enjoyable and accessible for all, proving that a little change can make a pretty big difference in bringing people together. Now, last week, X, formerly Twitter, hit an interesting snag with its latest iOS update, released just before my birthday, Stephen, June 25th, causing major issues for blind users who rely on VoiceOver, the screen reader. The update caused the timeline to only announce the account holder's name, missing, of course, the contents of the post, unless the user double-tapped to open each post individually. Now, the glitch left many blind users unable to navigate their timelines effectively. A developer did acknowledge it, and the issue was actually fixed within about 48 hours, and they assured users that it was going to be imminent, and it was. Now, this incident, of course, follows significant layoffs under Elon Musk's leadership, including the entire accessibility team. Something that we're going to talk about, Stephen, in just a couple of minutes with one of our guests will be joining us on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to get into that. And some interesting conversation to come that way for sure. That Waymo story is very interesting to me, though, because this, driverless car phenomenon, which just feels like it's just beginning. The conversation has been going on for so long, but yet, the capability of these cars already, we're seeing it in Phoenix, Arizona, where, of course, this Waymo trial is ongoing. It is amazing to see. And, to see that actually acknowledge the needs of disabled people and the value that something like this offers is brilliant. So I'm all for it, And you know what? Getting outside is what it's all about. That's what we're going to be talking about today. And that leads in nicely to our question of the week this week, Mark, which is, with summer kicking into high gear this Canada Day and 4th of July week, what tech has made the outdoors more tolerable and accessible for you?
Well, what tech hasn't, Stephen?
That's very true.
Okay, so what tech outdoors? I'm going to have to make a list because I'm going to probably have an Amazon cart full of things. The question of the week, with summer kicking into high gear this Canada Day and 4th of July weekend, what tech has made the outdoors more tolerable and accessible for you? I love it. Okay, if you want to get involved, you can connect with us on all our social media platforms. It's at Access Tech Live. Our email address, of course, feedback@accesstechlive.com as well, and you can get involved. Coming up, you heard it in the headlines. Twitter, or X, broke accessibility and managed to turn it around and fix it pretty quickly, all after completely removing an accessibility team. So, do we even need accessibility teams in big companies? Ooh, we're going to debate that after a quick break here on Access Tech Live.
There's more Access Tech Live to come. Get involved and have your say at Access Tech Live on social media. We'll be right back. Access Tech Live will return in less than 2 minutes. Access Tech Live is in a commercial break. Access Tech Live will return in less than 2 minutes. Access Tech Live is in a commercial break. The show will return in less than a minute. Access Tech Live will be back in 30 seconds. This is Access Tech Live.
And we're back on Access Tech Live. Mark, shall we talk Twitter or X or whatever we're calling it this week?
Do I have to call it X? I'm kind of annoyed with that. Yeah, let's do that. Here's what happened, Stephen, okay, that kind of sparked this conversation was last week because I wasn't here. I said, hey, Sean, do you mind, going on now with Dave Brown to talk about some tech? And he did, and he managed to build up some controversy in my place. Thanks. I really appreciate that. So Sean Priest is joining us now on the show, of course, the co-host of Double Tap, a podcast that he hosts with you every single day, of course, on AMI Audio as well. Now, Sean, let's go back to the story for a second here. So X breaks accessibility. They pushed an update, and as a result, screen readers weren't able to read the content unless you obviously put a little bit more effort into it. And this sparked the conversation because you kind of said on Now with Dave, do we even need accessibility teams if they were able to fix this? But honestly, do you think they even would have realized that there was a problem in the first place if it wasn't for the community, pointing it out to them? Don't you think the necessity of having a team in there is to obviously hope to avoid issues like this in the first place?
Well, firstly, Mark, that'll teach you for asking me to stand in for you.
I know.
But secondly, what the crux of the matter is that Elon was right when he bought Twitter and he got rid of the accessibility team. Obviously, he's been proven right. Now, I'm not sure if I actually believe that, but that's some of the conversation that was, I know, had you worried for a minute. But no, the point that you make that wasn't it just for the community? I mean, it was thanks to the community's action, specifically a thread on AppleViz, actually, who actually went out and contacted Twitter and made them aware. Now, who they contacted wasn't the accessibility team, because there wasn't one, but they did contact the actual software engineers who have their own Twitter handle on their channel, whatever you call it, hashtag XENG, X Engineers. So they reached out to them, and surprisingly enough, I've got to say, they got a response from one of the engineers. So that's how the contact was made, how they were made aware. We're not sure if they weren't aware of the problem anyway, but it was definitely the community's actions that made Twitter aware that there was an issue. You're right.
And you're arguing that basically because they managed to connect to one engineer, that they don't need an accessibility team in the company because it was able to get fixed. I mean, that I look back to the years and years of us trying to encourage companies to take accessibility first. And are you throwing it out the window?
Yes. No, I'm not. No. Look, the point is, and you can't really take this one example and say, okay, so this is, the conclusion we can jump to. Of course not. This could have been a pure luck, a pure fluke, a 1 in a million chance that will never happen again. But there's no denying that when the accessibility team was disbanded by Elon, we all said at the time, a terrible idea. That shows such a lack of respect for accessibility. And I'm just starting to think, we're starting to move now that accessibility shouldn't be this separate thing. Even as something in our settings on our smartphone or computers, we're seeing now that accessibility features are moving out of their own little special section, which is purely for disabled people, by the way, and moving more into the general settings. And I'm just wondering, I'm just putting it forward that maybe it's the same in the structure of a company, of a business. Why should an accessibility team or the accessibility department, it always seems to me, just be mopping up? They're retrofitting all the time. They're trying to fix the problems that shouldn't be there. Shouldn't the accessibility team be part of that main team anyway? The disabled people should be part of the main general everyday software coders. Accessibility shouldn't be a separate thing. It should be part of the core of a service, of an app.
Stephen, what are your thoughts on this?
I'm shaking my head here because, quite simply, I know exactly where you're coming from, Sean. I do. And it's interesting, Mark, something you said at the top there, which was that, isn't it the job of an accessibility team to catch these issues before, say, an app update is released or even an app is released? That's the dream, but that's not the reality. Unfortunately, that's not where we are. And what tends to happen is, as you've just said, Sean, what the accessibility team often ends up doing is mopping up the mess. We need to change that. That's what we need to do. We actually need to give more prominence to the accessibility teams. And for one simple reason, and that is specialisms. There are good reasons why accessibility teams exist. You as a developer of an app, you cannot know every single thing there is to know about accessibility. You might know some areas, you might know some areas pretty well. I akin it a little bit to healthcare. I think about a general practitioner. You would go to a general practitioner to get advice in that interim stage, that early stage, but that person would not know every single thing about every single disease or illness. So they would send you to a specialist. And that's what you need in development. That's what you need in coding. You need someone you can go to say, look, does this work with, say, voice access or voice control or screen readers or whatever it might be? And, how many times have we seen examples where you have a product that comes along that might work brilliant for a blind person, but then there's terrible contrast. So someone who has low vision really struggles to see the app. And you think, this is because we're not thinking inclusively. We're thinking about one particular thing. And clearly no accessibility team has been involved in this, because then you would have that breadth of knowledge to really dive into to get the knowledge.
I do agree with you.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Mark. Well, no, I do agree with what you're saying there, and absolutely, because I'm coming at this from my own little bubble myself. If something on an app isn't accessible with voiceover, it's not accessible, it's terrible. I don't think about someone who may be using a Switch device to navigate around or something. I'm just looking at it from my pure, my disability. So you are right there. But why is the accessibility team outward facing? Almost. I just get a feeling that it's almost a tick box that, hey, we've got an accessibility team, we care. You have.
Well, do you know why that is? I'll tell you exactly why that is, because unfortunately in our world today, there is such a push towards regulation. Now, there needs to be regulation, because clearly a lot of things will not happen without regulation, and I'm not suggesting for a second we don't have it. But what tends to happen is you end up with companies saying, right, look, we're going to be sued here if we don't get this sorted. We're going to have to fix this. And that's a good thing. Okay, you can look at it and say that's a good thing. The problem is then...
It is a good thing.
Well, it is, yes. But then what happens is people can then go to solutions that are not perfect. And I'm thinking about, for example, accessibility overlay companies we've talked about before, where people go to those companies because they offer a solution to all the website issues, perhaps, that make a website more accessible. You can just install this plugin and suddenly your website is fully accessible, although actually maybe it isn't. And that creates new problems and new issues for the companies. So, sometimes these solutions come along through regulation, but what ends up happening is you then use the stick more than the carrot. And I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing. But look, that's perhaps a different issue, or an extended part into this issue.
I got to ask you something else, Stephen.
Yeah.
How is an accessibility team in a company, different than a UI team in a company? You look at a company like Microsoft that designs lots of different products and hardware, and there's different elements of the company. There's different groups in the company that are responsible for whatever they're responsible for. So these guys are handling the UI, these guys are handling the coding, these guys are handling this, and then these guys are handling accessibility. What is the problem with that? There's no, if you look at the comparison on a broad basis there, everybody has a piece of the puzzle that they're in charge of and are there to bring their piece of the puzzle into the big picture and to make it all work. And I think an accessibility team is part of that puzzle. And yes, of course, we need to have representation across all of these different elements. And you don't necessarily need to have somebody who's disabled in every part of these companies. Obviously, if someone's qualified, they're qualified. Disabled or not disabled. But going, kind of towards Sean's conversation, yes, you need to be inclusive, but at the same time, an accessibility team is no different than the UI team, than the coding team, et cetera, et cetera. They should all be working together towards the same goal.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I got to jump in.
Well, I was going to say, he's the one arguing against it, not me.
Yeah.
No, that goes with Stephen's point. And what I was going to say about why's the accessibility team got to be outward facing, I was going to make that exact same point. You have a UI team, you have a AI team, a machine learning team inside the general coders. There's absolutely no reason you couldn't have the accessibility team as part of the streamlined structure of a company, of an app, whatever it may be. But the point being, they are in at development level. As things are being designed, as things are being developed, they're not mopping up. They're not coming saying, hey, here's the final product. Apparently something's wrong with it for disabled people. Fix it. Tell us what's wrong.
Well, look, I'm sorry to say it, guys, but there's one simple solution to this. And I'm sorry to say that after all the years of work I've done in this field, I'm still saying it. It feels like after 20 years I've been still saying the same thing. And that is, employ disabled people. It's really simple. Just employ disabled people. Employ more disabled people into your company at all levels, at all experience levels. Don't shoehorn us all into one box and say this is your accessibility box and that's where you go. Actually allow people to get into the company more widely. And then these issues start to get caught because people pick up on them. Conversations happen. The best advocacy you can ever have for disabled people and, helping challenge attitudes towards disabled people is to put disabled people into work, to give disabled people a chance in the workplace, because that then shows what our capability is.
I agree. I think we're all in
agreement. I think we're all in agreement when it comes to that. And I think that you look at all the conversations we've had with every company in the world, whether they're small companies or larger companies, it's about representation. It's making sure that the people are there that are qualified and can actually catch this kind of thing. But think about,
hang on. I love that we acknowledge it, and I love that we acknowledge that, and we all say it's a great idea, and I know every company comes on and says, yeah, of course, yeah, sure. Let's employ hundreds of millions of disabled people. And it doesn't happen. That's the problem. We're still having the same argument 20 years on from when I started talking about this. We're still having the same debate. The numbers of disabled people in work who are of working age is woefully low. And that has to be dealt with. It has to be dealt with today. This is something that can be dealt with today. Now, it doesn't change all of this overnight. It's not going to change what happened at X. I think what happened essentially at X was a fluke. I think they found it very quickly. I think this could have been a much worse situation. And what that would have led to, guys, is blind people not being able to access that social media site, being completely blocked off, because that is what happened for 24 hours last week.
And that's the last thing that they need, because they don't need more people not being able to use their service in a time when people are jumping off that service left, right, and center. Sean, thank you for joining us. I appreciate you causing a stir last week. That was great. I really, they did welcome me back this week, so that was good. Remind people where they can find, of course, Shaun of the Shed is your, of course, video podcast available on YouTube now. Only a couple more episodes left and you're done for the season, because we're going to roll that into Double Tap on YouTube next season, right?
That's right. We're taking over YouTube. Double Tap hits YouTube. Yeah. Can't wait.
Well, we're looking forward to it, and we're going to take a quick break here at Access Tech Live. Coming up, we're diving into the summer with some pretty cool outdoor tech ideas, both new and old, that make the outdoors more tolerable and a little bit easier to deal with. All that and more after a quick break here on Access Tech Live.
Access Tech Live to come. Get involved and have your say at Access Tech Live on social media. We'll be right back. Access Tech Live will return in less than 2 minutes. Access Tech Live is in a commercial break. Access Tech Live will return in less than 2 minutes. Access Tech Live is in a commercial break. The show will return in less than a minute. Access Tech Live will be back in 30 seconds. Now, back to Access Tech Live.
And we're back. Now, when the weather gets nice, it's only obvious that we try and find a way to extend our obsession with technology outdoors. Now, some people don't experience all 4 seasons like we do in Canada, so this can be relevant for some people all year long. So we're going to highlight some products and categories that can help make your outdoor spaces hopefully a more tech-friendly area. And here to help us is Chris Peltz, the host of the Blind Grilling Experience podcast. Chris, I've been trying all day not to say Blind Gorilla podcast. I think that would be very interesting, but very different show. Thank you for being with us. Lovely to have you back with us here on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate it. I've been looking forward to it.
Chris, I figured, what better person to get involved in a little roundtable discussion here about some cool things outdoors. And I figured let's start things off, obviously, in a very comfortable scenario for you. I'm a big fan of the Weber grills. They've got a cool Genesis outside that they call smart because they've added the thermometer built into it. It's a great grill. I think it's obviously like any grill, is as long as it cooks your meat, you're happy with it. What is your fancy when it comes to this particular grill? Is there a model in particular or a brand that you like more than the other?
When it comes to cost effectiveness, Weber is hard to beat altogether because of the warranty that they offer. I mean, there's so many things. I just really try to convince folks that don't just spend $200 on a grill every 2 years. Try to invest in one that's going to last, and Weber's a great option for that. But I love the ceramic grills. The Big Green Egg, the KJs. Just something about the ceramics that I think make things even more accessible, a little bit safer when it comes to feeling around and touching on the grills. But charcoal is definitely my go-to, whether it's in a Weber or a ceramic grill.
And like Mark was saying there, Chris, it's not just the grills, of course, it's the thermometers as well, which can make a big difference to people like you and I who are blind, right? You've got to know, you can't look at the meat and know if it's cooked or not, so it's really important to know, and these smart thermometers can really help. Tell us how they work.
Yeah, so we get so comfortable sometimes when we try to do timing, which, we've, in years past, that has been okay, but it's been really inconsistent. With these meat probes, I mean, you're sticking this probe into the meat, or if it's just monitoring the temperature that you're cooking at, and you can make adjustments. They usually connect to your smartphone, to a tablet, and so you can monitor the temperature that you're cooking at. You can make adjustments, add airflow, or if there's a dial or something, you can turn it up or turn it down. But then keeping track of the temperature of the meat. That's where you really get that consistent cook every time. It's not like, the steaks were perfect last week, but, I missed it a little bit this week. You can do it every time, every single time, when you're able to find an accessible meat probe that you stick in the meat, leave it in the meat, and, just monitor it while it cooks. And, you're not always opening up the grill, checking it, looking at you got that information right there on your smartphone.
That is so clever. Yeah, I mean, really, really useful. And of course, you can use these indoors and outdoors, I guess, as well. Lots of value in having something like this, right? One tool that I think is brilliant, and I use it at home all the time, is a smart plug. And you can get outdoor smart plugs as well, which I think is really cool. I think about, for example, Christmas lights or lights you might have out in the garden. Again, I'm thinking about from my point of view, selfishly, Chris, but you're blind as well, so we can be selfish together for a minute. Right. A smart plug is great for knowing that those lights are on or off, which can be really valuable, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's been several times when, I'm headed off to bed and my wife's like, "There's still a light on," and I'm like, "Where? I don't, where's the light? Where I gotta go, check all the switches and do different things." But yeah, when there are smart plugs, I mean, that just makes it easy. Just tell one of your smart speakers, turn them off, or open up an app and just just turn them off. I mean, it just makes things so much easier.
Now, I don't know about you guys. I got a pool outside, and I want to kind of combine these two together here because I invested in a pool robot, and kind of like the grill story, I invested a little bit higher end when I did it about 3 or 4 years ago, and I haven't looked back because it takes the maintenance out of actually maintaining a pool and cleaning the bottom of it and the walls with algae and stuff like that. They're really cool devices because they're also app connected, and those apps bring that accessibility to the table there as well. The device itself, you just throw in the pool, and you just make sure you empty a basket, every couple months to make sure it's good. And the app is what gives you the accessibility control, and you can add the automations and stuff to it, which is pretty cool. Like mine goes every couple days or every day. It goes for a couple hours. And I wanted to lump that in with the smart mowers because that's a new category of things that we've seen lately. I know a lot of people with large masses of land who take advantage of these mowers all over the place. It does smaller amounts of mowing over longer periods of time, which is actually apparently healthier for your lawn. But again, adding that app connectivity and that Wi-Fi connectivity makes all these tools a pretty interesting, unique accessibility side of things.
But I love it because when I first got married, for example, my wife came home from work and she said, "Thanks for trying to mow the yard." And I was like, "Well, how do you know I didn't hire a kid down the street to mow it?" She said, "I can see the big strips you missed." So, I mean, that's you run into that kind of problem. But with these mowers, they map out everything. I mean, some are running on GPS, some are running, through the S, but it's like they just work. And that's really what we want, isn't it?
Hey, listen, I did the best thing ever for me, and I know some people don't like doing this, but I got artificial grass because I thought, well, there's a solution to the problem. Who needs a robot mower, right? Although, I will say, short story here, I did actually not tell my gardener that I had got artificial grass. So when he came in on that day to try and mow the lawn, it was a rather amusing day, let's be honest. Well, for me it was, not for him. But listen, of course, sound outdoors is a big deal for us as well. Listening to music, chilling out, maybe listening to a podcast if you're by the pool or you're in the hot tub or whatever. Now, Mark, you've got a fantastic new speaker which has just been launched.
I do. It's right here. It's right here in my left hand. It's actually, Beats is become a pretty well-known brand in the audio space, and they've come out with a new Beats Pill speaker, which is water-resistant, IP67 water and dust resistant, of course compatible with Android and, of course, iOS, up to 24 hours of battery life, and in a small form factor that it fits kind of across two of my hands. Of course, they call it a pill because of the shape of it. It looks like a giant pill. I wouldn't try swallowing it, though. It is amazing sound out of this device. It comes with a little lanyard on the side, so you can kind of hang it around with you. Really cool device for under $200, which I find is super neat. But I want to bring up another one, which is the Sonos Move, which I got many years ago that's still outdoors. And actually, I never bring it in the winter, mostly because I forget, and by the time I remember, it's buried in snow somewhere. And it works every single season, taking a beating in the winter and all the elements. And it has built-in access to, of course, Amazon Echo and A-Lady type features and your iOS type features as well. So you can be out at the pool or out in the backyard or doing whatever you're doing and actually trigger all those other smart devices. So that's why I think a speaker is a pretty cool invention, especially when it has all the smarts to it. Do you have one outdoors, Chris?
I've got the Sonos out in my garage where it just, I mean, it just works. I love it. And I listen to it, pretty much every day. And I love the accessibility of those. Absolutely.
I can raise you guys. You're talking Sonos, you're talking Beats. I've got the Bose SoundLink Max in my hand. Comes in a beautiful light blue. This is entirely waterproof as well. It can even float in water, unlike me.
Oh, really?
And this is a really cool device. USB-C charging, of course. What's great is you can connect to two devices simultaneously as well. It is a very heavy speaker, 4.7 pounds, so it's not the lightest around, but it does have an incredible bass response as well. So if you want to get those beats thumping in your back garden, Bose SoundLink Max is quite good.
Something I invested in, guys, a couple of years back were not only Wi-Fi security cameras, but cellular-powered security cameras that had a solar panel. I found this super interesting because there were some areas that I'm like, I can't get a wire to this location. I can't find a plug to power this up. So there's companies like Arlo that makes it, REO Link have these great cameras that come with a little solar panel, or you can get the accessory to keep it powered pretty much all day long. And the cellular option is really cool because you don't need to worry about your Wi-Fi. And I find people doing this and using these in country homes, in cottages, in places that might not even have electricity. If you want to keep an eye on something, they're super, super handy. And it's something that Stephen, I know you would want in your backyard, but again, you're hiking, you have a small cabin in the woods. This is a perfect device for that kind of element of it as well. And then the other one on the solar side of things, solar lighting, I think, has become super popular. And I think it's because of the capacity of the batteries and the ability to just literally, you leave it. You plug it in, you leave it. You never have to worry about turning on a smart switch or turning on any switch. And you've got a lit path if it's a path you want. Maybe it's around, your grill outside. I find a really cool accessory, and I'm seeing more and more people use them. Are you?
So I've got the Arlo. Yeah, I've got the Arlo cameras, and they work great. We've got our property surrounded, and we monitor all of that. Of course, I've got my grill station, my outdoor kitchen, and just to about the only thing we've had up there are coons and possums so far, but we're able to catch all of that, and which has been great. I haven't had access to the satellite link, but the Wi-Fi ones have just been phenomenal for us.
Chris, obviously you've got the podcast. How can people find that, and how else can they follow you online?
Yeah, if you go to blindgrilling.com is the website. And of course, any of the major podcast app, Blind Grilling Experience, is on all the major podcast apps. And then on YouTube, go to youtube.com/blindgrilling, and you can find us there. And we're posting some new videos as of late as well.
Awesome, Chris. Thank you for joining us. I really appreciate you joining us in this conversation. I love listening to your podcast and all your cooking tips. It's awesome. So thank you for joining us. And when we come back, guys, there's one category of things we didn't talk about, which was smart sprinklers and irrigation. There's a company that's actually based here in Canada called OTO, and they have a smart lawn care system that I've actually been playing with. They reached out to me after I installed this, so we're going to talk all about it and how it makes caring for those outdoor spaces a whole lot easier. Stick around. It's Access Tech Live.
There's more Access Tech Live to come. Get involved and have your say at Access Tech Live on social media. We'll be right back. Access Tech Live will return in less than 2 minutes. Access Tech Live is in a commercial break. Access Tech Live will return in less than 2 minutes. Access Tech Live is in a commercial break. The show will return in less than a minute. Access Tech Live will be back in 30 seconds. Back to Access Tech Live.
Now, Mark mentioned earlier a product called Otto, or a company called Otto, which is a smart lawn care system. I'm very intrigued about this, Mark, especially from the point of view of someone with a disability using something like this to care for their lawn.
Yeah, it's not often you go out and you buy a product because you see an ad and you're like, I got to try that out because I have that. I mean, I don't know about you, but keeping my grass watered, I don't know why it's such a challenge. I think it's just laziness, to be perfectly honest. Then I saw this product. I'm like, I got to try this out because I'm not going to go dig irrigation systems into my house and spend all that money. So Otto is a very, very cool solution. And joining us now is actually the founder of Otto, Ali Sabti. He has a background that spans medical devices, automotive projects, consumer electronics, and always puts a focus on nature and sustainability. So how is Otto making a difference for people with a disability is a question I ask. Ali, thank you for being with us today.
First of all, thank you for having me. I think it's an important show. It's an important topic that we talk about. But just in short, for the audience, Otto is a smart outdoor device that simplifies and automates the application of water and different yard care solutions. So if you think about fertilizer, mosquito, tick repellent, and the sorts, really simple to install. So that was one of our main focuses. It just requires a host connection and a Wi-Fi. And then a user goes onto their phone, sets up the different areas they want to cover, and then Otto will take care of the rest. They'll look at the weather patterns, weather conditions, and then optimize for how much water to put down, where to put that water, and then solutions if you have it.
There's so many products, Ali, that, you can look at and you can think, wow, that's an amazing product. What an incredible idea. And then you think, well, as we do here at Access Tech Live, how does that work for someone who's disabled? Has that ever entered your mind? Did it ever enter your mind in the process of building this?
Look, candidly, it's not like it was the focus, but there's a core belief within Otto, and it's very similar how we view accessibility, like we view sustainability, and in a way, and because we designed the device from the ground up, that good design is accessible, good design is sustainable. So, looking at the different abilities of folks, say, be it vision, be it mobility, dexterity, hearing, and even on the cognitive front, looking at who that user base is going to be, and good design to us is fundamentally accessible.
I love the product. As you said, it was simple to install. It has a solar panel on the top so that it constantly keeps its charge. It's got different compartments when you lift that solar panel to be able to drop in, as you said, the fertilizer and the various, elements to keep things going. I can just imagine for someone, for example, with mobility issues, able to suddenly achieve the same lawn care results as anyone else. It really does help level the playing field. Is that something that you hear from your audience?
Absolutely. And what Otto is supposed to do is kind of take care of the heavy lifting for folks with limited abilities, or even folks that are forgetting or prone to forgetting. So what this is doing is it's taking care of that sort of the labor intensive, the types of work that you need to do on a consistent basis. And it allows the user to really just go out there and enjoy their yard and do some of the light work like pruning or getting out there and actually enjoying that outdoor space.
Of course, one area that we talk about a lot these days is the environment, rightly so. How does this contribute to that? Because, I often wonder about the use of water these days. And it's funny, we were actually talking about this in the pre-meeting. How does this kind of thing work these days? Can we actually get away with using water in this way? Is that actually part of sustainability in your mind, or is it potentially an issue?
Yeah, I mean, look, we have to be very judicious with water use. It's probably by a long stretch our most important resource. But also, if you think about even the ornamental spaces, our backyards, they're really important from an environmental perspective as well. They prevent erosion, they control flooding, they break down organic matter, they even reduce noise. Great habitat for wildlife. They provide cooling. So then the question becomes, well, how do you get that sort of space in an environmentally sensible manner? And what Otto does, and it does it in two ways. One is it saves water by putting the water exactly where you need it to be. So there's that precision that goes into that device. But then it also has the intelligence to only water when it needs to. So it looks at the weather, backwards to look at soil moisture, and then also forwards to infer if it's going to be raining or not. And that's on the water side. But environmental sustainability when it comes to lawn lawn care is a bit more to it than just water alone, and that's around the solutions and the solution application. So not only are we using about 50% of the water that we use in the consumer home in the U.S. to water the outside, but we're also putting down a ton of these solutions that are harmful to the environment. So if you think about how Otto's putting down the solutions, our natural solutions, again, it looks at the weather pattern, so it could reduce things like runoff, which will essentially wash that solution into water bodies, which is detrimental to aquatic life. But then it also enables us, just by putting down these small amounts on a frequent basis, to use things like botanical oils. So folks that are extra sensitive to the synthetics or don't want to use those around their homes or loved ones have an alternative now to be able to put down these natural solutions, in addition to the water savings. And together, between the irrigation and the fertigation, be able to get that sort of yard that has all of those benefits, not only to the environment, but also to the person themselves. So, you know, if you think about a yard, it's a wonderful space to get some sun, to get some fresh air. Psychologically, it's great to be out there and to kind of really make use of that space in that way.
Ali, you know, I got to emphasize the simplicity of what you're doing here, because you're taking something that seems extremely complicated and empowering people to make a difference without even realizing it, almost very kind of, you know, frictionless. You know, I'm holding the app up here to the screen now, and I've got 2 Ottos set up in my yard. I was able to literally draw on the screen a map of where I wanted it to water. It tells me when it's going to rain and it's not going to actually use water. It's made me be a little bit more conscious and aware of what I'm doing and the impact that I'm actually making on the environment. Was the simplicity of the design of the app itself, was that a big part of this whole concept?
110%. You know, when I came up with the whole concept of Otto, I was leading a global team with developing an automotive product, spending a ton of time in Japan, and I just needed a product for myself, and I needed a plug it and forget it type of system. I wasn't a green thumb like my father and maybe some of the other folks that I know, but I needed a solution environmentally sustainable, because one, I care about the environment, but also I didn't want to use any harmful chemicals around my children and pets. And then that's essentially what the genesis for Otto came to be. Is, you know, we needed a very simple, you know, cut through all the complications, not trying to convolute sort of the approach to upsell or to do any of that. And this is why today, Otto, you're able to get Otto set up in minutes. Most of our customers have the device, believe it or not, set up in no more than 10 minutes, just from unboxing to being completely done. And then from there, it's just really simple, very low maintenance. If you have any adjustments, you just jump right into the app. So I think that was really, really important. To essentially, even internally, we talk about democratizing yard care, where before it was perhaps limited to a certain number of folks. One, they need to understand and know what they're doing, and 2, they need to be really able-bodied, and they need to have all of these different abilities to do it. And with Otto, it does a lot of that heavy lifting. It does a lot of that sort of cognitive decision making, and the load that has to come with the consistency of going out and applying solutions and applying water. And it enables more people to get out there and really enjoy their spaces.
I mean, I've got to say, 2 things really stand out. One is you mentioned about the fact that it essentially conserves water in that it's a sustainable way, because, as Mark just said, you know, with the app or with the system, it actually can detect if it's raining. It knows if it's raining, so it just doesn't apply water in that case. So, you know, that just alone is such a wonderful reason to use something like that. But my ears also pricked up when you said pets, because, you know, I've just got a new puppy here. And, you know, dogs, they, you know, make a bit of mess. And, you know, you want to make sure your lawn is clean. So, again, this is something which can contribute to that, right? Whilst also being safe for those pets.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, we talked a lot about the irrigation side, you know, the types of solutions you can put in a fertilizer. We also have a mosquito and tick repellent, but it also opens up the door to do quite a bit more. And one of the applications we found is that folks with pets, particularly in warmer climates, also in climates where maybe they're using synthetic turf, when that dog goes out there, you know, that builds up the smell, because you don't have really the organic matter to break it down. And this is why we're able to package in essentially an enzymic cleaner that Otto is able to put out in small and frequent amounts. And it, you know, sort of from an environmental standpoint, it's the best way to clean up after your dog and pets, and it's completely safe for them to do that.
Well, I would suggest maybe asking you to ship one over to me in Scotland, but since it rains every 3 seconds here, I think I'm probably covered in some ways anyway. But, it does sound like an amazing system. And for people who are interested in it, and across Canada, across the US, where can they find out more?
The best place is either on Instagram or on Facebook through our social media channels at Otolawn, OTOLAWN, or through our website, www.otolawn.com. That's OTOLAWN.com.
Ali, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. It was a great conversation, and I look forward to seeing app updates and new features and stuff down the road as well.
Thank you so much for having me.
Coming up with so many gadgets and coming out each year, it can be hard to keep up. I'm doing the wrong question of the week, Stephen. With summer kicking into high gear this Canada Day, July 4th, what tech has made the outdoors more tolerable and accessible for you? I've got a couple in mind, and we're going to get to them after a quick break, plus your answers, of course.
There's more Access Tech Live to come. Get involved and have your say at Access Tech Live on social media. We'll be right back. Access Tech Live will return in less than 2 minutes. Access Tech Live is in a commercial break. Access Tech Live will return in less than 2 minutes. Access Tech Live is in a commercial break. The show will return in less than a minute. Access Tech Live will be back in 30 seconds. This is Access Tech Live.
Our question of the week this week is, with summer kicking into high gear this Canada Day and 4th of July week, what tech has made the outdoors more tolerable and accessible for you? And we've had some brilliant answers, Mark.
Yeah, I mean, Josh wrote Ryobi battery-powered fans. Now, that's a perfect example of something that makes life outdoors a lot better. One that, we didn't throw on the board, so my wife actually said those neck fans. I know you even know one of those neck fans. That probably saved our... Yeah, I know. They probably saved us during my daughter's graduation when it was something like 37 degrees or 44 with humidity in the gym. That was crazy. Mike wrote in, my Bluetooth Bose 360 speaker. There you go.
Ooh, similar to mine. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know. I still the Beats pill that I'm holding in my hand here. Nice and red. It's pretty good. I'm going to have to put it to the test and see. Really? You don't think so? Come on.
I've never loved Beats. I've never loved Beats. I'm putting out there, I love all the Apple stuff, as you know, but Beats, I don't know. I'll stick with Bose.
My favorite headphones, Stephen. I'm going to be honest. They're my favorite headphones. That's a story for another day. Jessica wrote, our neighborhood can get noisy with people tending to their lawns and such, so noise-canceling headphones make my summers go by quicker and more peaceful. But where do you get, then you miss out on all the birds and the squirrels. And okay, I get the lawnmowers can be annoying, but I like the sound of the summer, don't you?
I do, although you could just play birdsong in your ear. I mean, that's one way to do it. Just play it through your phone.
That's
problem solved.
Fine. That's a good point. Or play it through your smart speaker if you want. Yes. Lena wrote us, I have my outdoor lights connected to a smart plug so I can turn them on and off when the sun goes down at night. It's a game changer for the lazy. That's not lazy. I argue that is not lazy, Stephen. I've got all my lights that are triggered around my house, especially in the outdoors. When the sun sets, the lights turn on. When the sun rises, the lights turn off. I think that's super convenient. It's probably energy, I guess, better for the environment, maybe, because I'm consuming less energy, and I don't have to forget them on every single day. So,
that's right. But I'm with you on the whole solar thing, because what we were talking about earlier with the solar lights. They've improved so much. Even the light is better from them. Remember those early ones? They were terrible. You just got a little candle light almost.
A little tip, those ones that you pop into the lawn, they're like little pyramids or whatever that just you smack them into the lawn. It really helps when you pull the tab so the battery makes contact with the light. That really helps them work a lot better, because I set up a dozen of them, and I'm like, why are they not working? And I think I threw them out until one of them, I'm like, oh, what's this? Oh, I
bet lots of people are heading outside right now going to check these. Hang on, I think I know the answer to this. Yeah.
David writes, I have a portable solar charger from Anchor that I use when we go camping. I charge it up beforehand, and then I can use the built-in solar panel to keep it topped up. It's great when the kids get antsy. That, you know what? I should have thought of that one myself, because Anchor and other companies make these great giant power banks now. Like almost some of them have wheels and handles that, of course, you can get a solar attachment. So if you're somewhere off the grid and you need to charge your phone to make a call or something, or want to power, something. I mean, you're supposed to be off the grid should you need power, but I guess that's another example of solar power being put to good use. Another one,
I didn't know they existed.
Well, another one that I think is going to come in handy is going to be the text messaging by satellite on the new iOS update on our iPhones. Yeah. That's going to be interesting for people who are off the grid and people who are camping and stuff like that. Not only just for like SOS purposes and obviously if they're in trouble, but just to be able to check in with a loved one, which would be pretty cool.
Yeah, listen, it's great having you back on. This has been great today. It's been so good, and it's such a great conversation. Really positive stuff. Chris Peltz, of course, amazing. And, of course, Ali there talking about that. I'm really keen on this smart lawn care system. I might give him a little email later and see if I can get a discount code.
Well, Stephen, if you follow us on social media, which you should, at Access Tech Live, you may have noticed that, guess what, we're going to be with you for a while. We just announced that Season 2 of Access Tech Live will be returning this September. We're going to take a little short break at the end of August, but we're going to come back with another incredible season. We got a lot of things in the hopper and planned for you guys, so we look forward to being with you for yet another season here on Access Tech Live. So thank you to everybody who joined us this week. Of course, Stephen, it's a pleasure to be back. I will not escape from you again, and we will catch you all on our next edition of Access Tech Live. Please join us. We hope to see you then.
Thanks for tuning in to Access Tech Live. Follow us online on all social media at Access Tech Live. Email us feedback@accesstechlive.com. Hosted by Stephen Scott in Glasgow and Mark Aflalo in Montreal. Live show director, Anastasia Spalding-Stenhouse. Technical director, Caitlin Robinson. Audio, James Kennedy. Live graphics and playback, Kingsley Juco. Graphics coordinator, Eliza Rocco. Integrated described video specialist, M. Williams. Supervising producer, Michelle Dudas. Produced in collaboration with Aflalo Communications, Inc. and Double Tap Productions. Copyright 2024, Accessible Media, Inc.
An AMI original production.